Introducing the BVP-4 by EliteVideo, Broadcast Video Processor. This is what we'd like to consider a new revolution in video control. On the left is the old signal, and with the split screen we pan to the right. The Broadcast Video Processor restores the blacks, gives you better skin tone, and can improve resolution. Here's a few examples. Again, before and then after. Here we do a split screen. Split screen is part of the EliteVideo unit. This is the black restore in action with titles from the end of a tape. Notice the resolution edging of the titles as we go from left to right. Here again, a movie. Notice how not only does the black get restored, but the edges get sharper. Here's a still frame from a wedding, demonstrating the flesh tone control. Once again, with the turn of a single knob, you can restore the flesh tones from that red image more toward the pure skin tone color. Because of the problems with color under video systems, you're naturally going to get more red as you go multiple generations. The Broadcast Video Processor not only sharpens your image, gives you better black colors, but also helps you, as you can see here, restore the skin tones back to the way they should be. You can get some excellent results using a combination of black restore, resolution enhancement processing, and flesh tone warmer. The Broadcast Video Processor will also allow you to lighten up a signal that might have been backlit to begin with. Sometimes you get a video picture that has been misbalanced color-wise, like this one has too much green. Using the Broadcast Video Processor, we're able to bring it back close to what it should be. The combination of things you can do with the Broadcast Video Processor is endless. You could even take a faded signal and add more color to it. You can use the Broadcast Video Processor in duplication and in making your edit masters. Here we sharpen up an image using the resolution contour circuit. For this demo tape, we only use the Broadcast Video Processor for making the edit master, though you can actually also use it in duplication as well as the edit master. It does not add noise to the signal. We did not use it in duplication because if we did, we wouldn't be able to show you the before and after pictures. Because of this, the results you will get in your own editing studio will be better than what you see on this demo tape. These shots were done, again, left that's before, and as we pull to the right, that's after. These shots were done using the black restore circuit with a little bit of the tint and flesh tones with something called the point-to-point luminance, which gives you a greater range from black to white. We also used a little bit of the flesh tone warmer to give a better picture. The split screen adjustment on the Broadcast Video Processor allows you to see before you do your shot the before and after. The color level allows you to add or subtract any amount of color you desire to the picture. The flesh tone warmer here is one of our favorite items, and using the pass and adjust method, you just put it into gear or you could take it out of gear. You could use a little or a lot of flesh tone warming. I'm going to put my fingers halfway through the split screen so you can see how it changes the flesh tones to compensate for the problems with running your video signal through multiple generations. By hitting the switch to adjust, you now have full 360-degree tint control. We have two knobs for it so it can give you even the slightest variations. You'll notice as I'm turning the knob here, there's only slight changes, yet with both knobs and one switch, you can go a full 360 degrees to modify color. Most of the color modifications you're going to need to do are probably only going to be slight. That's why we use two knobs instead of one knob to give you the full amount of color correction. As well as all these other unique features, there's one that we really haven't mentioned much, and that's the point-to-point luminance. This is a way to darken or brighten the dynamic range of your signal. As you can see as I'm demonstrating it here, there's no distortion on the high end or the low end. It actually increases the depth from black to white. It can make an image seem darker or brighter without adding distortion or a loss of contrast. If you want the regular kind of brightness, it's the IRE adjustment, and this is good if you're ever going to air something and it's just too dark or too light for broadcast standards. Simple turn of the knob will put it where you want. Combination of this with the point-to-point luminance can give you the ultimate in brightness or darkness control. The BVP-4 is the only unit of its kind on the market with patented resolution enhancement processing, giving you up to 90 lines more resolution. The problem with today's color correctors is they just superimpose other color tints to give the illusion of a changing color. Note how this affects even the white and black videotape at the bottom of your screen. Now take a look at the Elite BVP-4. It actually changes colors the real way with true linear phase correction. Note how the color changes don't affect the white and the black videotape at the bottom of your screen. Even the expensive time-based corrector color controls become inaccurate with mixed brightness levels. This is not the case with the Elite broadcast video processor. We want to thank you for watching our videotape. We put it together in a hurry because the unit just came out. One thing I know people are going to ask is there any doctoring up of video to make it look better when you run it through the process or anything? And I can assure you that is not the case. We just randomly pick tapes from tapes people have sent in and from our tape library and ran them through the processor. Now, there is a big change when you run through the processor, and as a result, people aren't used to being able to see such a dramatic result. And that is because of the fact that until this time, video processors have not contained some of the things in the BVP-4. For example, the flesh tone warmer is something not found anywhere else. Multi-generations add to the redness of skin tone. Turning this knob adjusts 3 or 4 things at once to eliminate that problem. The other thing that is not found anywhere else is the black restore circuit. Normally when somebody tries to repaint the black levels, what happens is you darken or change everything else. And as you saw in our videotape, that is not the case at all. It just affects the black, which is nice to give a better balance and contrast. Something else not found anywhere else is the resolution contour. Now you saw some back and forth shots of the resolution contour where you do get more detail and you don't get the distortion. A lot of times a digital mixer will make you lose some detail. For example, here's a regular shot. Here's going through the MX1 mixer. Once again, the regular shot and through the MX1 mixer. Notice the loss of detail, but we can bring that back with the color level and with the black restore and with the resolution contour and the flesh tone. So once again, you have before the mixer, after the mixer, and then using our flesh tone, you could actually get it better than the original, including the resolution contour circuit. This is great for mixer owners. The point-to-point luminance is something that you're not going to find in any machines on the market under $6,000, and that we showed you earlier in the tape really allows you to give a brighter signal without having to worry about losing the contrast. And that's really nice if you're doing weddings and you decide that you need to sort of brighten something up, but you don't want to lose the contrast. As you notice, there was a lot of wedding footage out there. A lot of people in the video market are doing weddings now, and there's a few problems, of course, associated with doing weddings. For example, multi-camera weddings, you often have the problem of the cameras not matching. The BVP-4 will take care of that for you, will allow you to adjust the color to match one of the other cameras. Sure, 2 units would be ideal, but with one you'll be able to pick whichever camera you favor in terms of colors and then match the other one to that. I think one of the most favorite features of the broadcast video processor is the ability to reduce generation loss. So when a customer comes into our studio and sees a tape of ours that might be 3rd generation, they can see something that's crisp something that has nice definition and detail and good color, which really can give you an edge over your competition if you have one of these. Now, the other thing is, people ask, how does this compare to other color correctors? Well, as you know from the unique features, it's not just a color corrector of resolution, contour, and the depth, black restore, point-to-point luminance, flesh tone. They're all unique things. But if you just take the part that's the tint adjustment, there really is a big difference here. You saw early in the demo tape that as we turn the color wheel on, well, what was an AV7, you could see that it just similarly paints different shades over the color to sort of give the illusion of really changing the color. And really, 80–90% of all color correctors out there, whether than the MX50 or other small Vidicraft kind of color corrector devices, that's the way they work. Some people have invested $2,000 or $3,000 in the full-size time-based correctors, which have what's called proc amp controls. Now, those actually work pretty well for the tint adjustment, though there is one major drawback with time-based corrector color controls. That is that with a time-based corrector processing amplifier, built in, every time you adjust the phase, phase of other colors can slightly be off depending on how dark or how light they are. Now, with this unit, it's what's called true linear phase. There is no skew error, and that's what it's called. When you adjust the phase, there is a skew error with a typical time-based corrector processing control. Although they work better than the ones found on the digital mixers with the little color positioner, they still have skew error, which means that if you have if you have a flag and part of it's bright and part of it's white, and those of you who have a time-based corrector know this with a red, white, and blue type image, as you change that phase, if the darker blue is right in the same picture as the brighter blue or darker red and brighter red, as you turn that phase, those two colors go slightly out of alignment, and that is not the case with the color correction in this unit. One thing that we didn't add in the demo tape is something called herringbone filter, which is a little switch on the unit, herringbone filter, and what that allows you to do is if you get a tape that has some electrical noise in it, and we didn't have any right for doing the demo tape, we'll get one in the future, but if you have a tape that has some electrical noise in it, you can simply turn on this herringbone filter and it will eliminate at least 50% of the electrical noise. And of course, the split screen is really ideal for seeing your before and your after picture. This particular tape that you're watching here, this demo tape, was, as you know, done through the broadcast processor. The one thing that we really have to emphasize also is that it was only done using the broadcast processor to make the edit master. Now, when you get one of these units, if you decide to get one, you can not only use it for your edit master, but you can then use it to make duplications. We couldn't use it to also make the duplication of this tape because of the fact that we were doing split screen before and after of the black restore and all different kinds of things. So if we had used it to make the tape, some of the before and afters really wouldn't look like before and after. So whatever you saw on this tape in terms of correction, if you're reasonably happy with it, keep in mind you can run through this twice with no degradation. Now you may wonder, how can you run through a unit like this twice with no degradation? Well, first of all, it's a very high bandwidth unit using military grade components. And the second part is that so much of what is out there today is digital processing. Now, all the digital mixers, that's fine. You want digital processing because you're dealing with a time-based error in the videotapes. This is just dealing with the color signal itself, and it's not looking to correct time-based error, which a mixer already does. With digital, there's a thing called digital artifacts. Now that happens a little bit with whatever digital mixer you're using, but what's even worse is if you were to chain a few mixers together, you get more digital artifacts, because what you're doing is you're taking an analog signal, which is the video standard NTSC signal, you're making it into digital, and then you're making it back into analog when you come out of the digital mixer. Well, if you were to do that with a digital mixer once, which is no big deal,
but then go into a digital processor. This again is linear analog, but if you were going to digital processor, there's a little more what's called digital artifacting, little parts of the video that look, well, let's just say digitized for lack of a better word. Now if you were then to go into a digital color processor, you'd have maybe an okay edit master, but then you'd want to make duplications from that. And the problem is that when you went to make duplications, you'd go through a digital processor that would then recode the signal to digital, ones and zeros, and back out again to analog. Well, all that processing in the digital realm 2, 3, or 4 times is not good for your signal because it comes out with more of a pixelated or digital look. So this is what's ideal about this unit. You can run through it a couple of times, once for making your edit master and once for making your duplication, and you will get an excellent quality signal with no loss. You could even, if you wanted to, hook it up to your camera the way we're doing it here for just a little added boost. Hook it up when you're making your edit master and hook it up with when you're making duplications, and you'll really get some superior video footage. As a matter of fact, if you just wanted to invest in a unit like this for the black restore and the flesh tone and the resolution contour for making, strictly as a unit for making duplications, it's a real ideal unit. If you were to invest in a black restore device, which they have out in the professional end, I believe it's around $4,000, and the resolution contour device, say, is another machine, which would be a couple $1,000s if you could find one, and the flesh tone warmer and the tint adjustment, all these things as separate units, you would end up paying $15,000, $20,000. But here you get them all in one box, and you get them at a very reasonable rate. Another thing I forgot to add before, the back of this unit has on it composite in and Super VHS in, which is also high 8 input, we'll call it YC, and also composite and Super VHS out. You can go into this unit composite input and come out Super VHS, or go in Super VHS and come out composite. Both outputs work at the same time. You could even say come in Super VHS and go out composite and Super VHS at the same time. If you have any questions, you can call our office about this machine. We can also get you, upon request, a demonstration of how this unit does when it's duplicating our tape, and we'd be happy to answer any questions for you. Thank you very much for watching our demo tape, and we look forward to hearing from you in the future. For all those people who have purchased the BVP-4, first of all, congratulations. It's a great machine. You're going to get a lot of use out of it. In lieu of a complicated instruction manual, we're going to give you some tips right on video. The first thing to do is plug your source machine into the BVP-4 and then out to a monitor if you just want to see it, or into your record deck and then into a monitor. We have a split screen here showing the unit at the bottom and the effect up at top here. So what you want to do is you want to take your split screen, and you could put it all the way to the right, take your color level and zero it out, or a little bit to the left of 0, flesh tone all the way down to the left, tint all the way down to the left. The two knobs, two switches here, pass and adjust, are going to go in the upright position. The other tint knob to full left, point-to-point luminance at 0, IRE adjustment, you're going to want to have that at 0. Resolution contour, you're going to want to have all the way down at 0 to the left. And the black restore, you're going to want to have all the way to the left. Now that you have all this set up, you can take the split screen and go halfway across. And what you'll notice actually is a little bit of difference. Inside the broadcast video processor, there's 4 actually mini analog dedicated computers executing logarithmic equations to figure out how to improve the signal. So even at 0, you're going to see a little bit of difference, because let's just say we taught the computers too well. They don't understand how to not change the signal at all. They got to do something. So right now when they're split screen mode, and it's just about even, though you will see a little bit of improvement using the box. Now you can adjust the color level to subtract or add as much color as you need to. Usually I keep it a little bit to the left. And let's work with the flesh tone warmer. You can see flesh tones here. You can improve them a lot or a little. As a matter of fact, maybe I'll let the tape roll here. Let me just hit this. And we'll see if we can see some shots where we get close on the face. You can really see a difference. Let me freeze it for you. You can really see a difference between before and after. Let me adjust the color. And you can do a lot or a little. This is nice if you're going multi-generations. Doesn't look that red till you really take the flesh tone warmer over. So you want to set your flesh tone warmer up. Right now we're going to do it just about at halfway. So there's a nice improvement. Second, and this is a 3-chip camera, by the way, a Sony EVW-300. So it gets rid of some of the reds. Now you're going to leave this switch on pass because that allows you to use the flesh tone warmer and not the tint. You can't use the tint adjustment and the flesh tone warmer at the same time. They both correct colors in different ways. If you want to use the color correction, you go down to Adjust, and that allows you to use these two knobs. But we're going to skip the color correction for now, move on to what's called point-to-point luminance. Point-to-point luminance allows you to brighten the signal without actually affecting too much of the contrast if you wanted to. Go all the way up or all the way down. The next one is IRE adjustment. This is a typical brightening adjustment that you see on many time-based correctors and machines, and as you can see, it sort of washes out. When in doubt, try to use the point-to-point luminance before using the IRE. The point-to-point luminance is a special thing you're only going to see in this color corrector or this broadcast processor, and it's really the way to brighten your signal if you need to. Resolution contour is the next item. Matter of fact, I'll let the tape roll here a little to give us some new footage. And the resolution, ooh, that's pretty dark. That could use some point-to-point luminance. But the resolution contour allows you to get heavy detail where you might not have it. Now we might freeze the frame once again so we can see some specifics here. If you look at the face of the bride, and we'll do a split screen right across it, you can actually see that the resolution contour, if you bring it up a bit, it'll distort. Resolution contour will give you some detail. You can look in the hair and everything. It may not be there originally. Now the resolution contour works better for detail than it does for just general kinds of shots. But it will give you that edge, that you need in certain situations. So here we have the flesh tone warmer on, and we're going to go to the black restore. That's the farthest switch right here. You're going to flip that up, and you're going to turn. Matter of fact, let me back up the tape a little because this is a good example of the black restore. You're going to turn the black restore up, and you can see the black background goes more to a jet black. Let me adjust it here. Your IRE and your point-to-point luminance should be at about 0. Now look at the background on the right as I'm turning the knob. I'm going to back it up so where we have some black areas. I'll freeze the picture again. Okay, note the tuxedo as we go from left to right here, split screen. You're going to see a little shakiness in the screen until you go across. Sometimes this line right here actually have a little blur in it, a little bit of lines. That's normal because you're not going to be playing the tape in split screen mode. But you can see, using the black restore knob, you can turn and you can see you can make the background darker. And this is especially important. Here's a frozen picture again. We'll go to half screen. We have the flesh tone warmer on. This is important for shots, for example, like this. You can see the difference between the left side and the right side. The people's faces, even if I take off the flesh tone warmer, it'll look more accurate. The faces stay the same, but the background goes to jet black, so it gives you a lot more contrast. Again, you can't use the black depth restore if you're going to be using a point-to-point and IRE adjustment. For example, with point-to-point, you turn it up, you tend to lose the black restore. But it's a nice thing to have if you want to give that edge to the shot. And I'll unfreeze it, and you can see how the black restore does not affect the people's faces. We have the resolution contour on. Next, we're going to go into the tint section. Now, in order to go into the tint, you want the pass knob to go down to adjust, bring the thing split screen. And this is mainly for videos that are out of phase and have some color problem, which this one really doesn't. So we're actually going to be making the signal worse. But bear with me here. We bring it down to adjust, and we have the plus 180 at the top and minus 180 at the bottom. So we're going to go plus 180, which means you're using the first knob. Second knob gets turned to 0. You can see here you can make just minor adjustments or go all the way. And again, this is a properly balanced picture, so there's no real need to do that. And the minus 180, bring the first switch down, corrects the right side of your screen here. This is not a great example. I'll go full screen. Corrects any degree minus 180. And to go back to the first one, you go to plus 180, bring the second knob to 0. So the opposite knob really has to be to 0 to correct the other one. I just usually use flat pass, which brings you to flesh tone. And you can see the difference here. If I want to brighten the signal up, I use point-to-point luminance. And I'll review everything here. Once again, you have the color level. You can bring down to black and white if you need to, or up a little bit. You have the flesh tone warmer, which I leave up a little because, as you can see, it gives a little bit more natural look. You leave it in pass. You go to adjust. You get the tint at 180 in the up position. You get the first knob, making sure the other knob is to 0. Go down to 180, put the first knob to 0, and make your adjustment. Let's bring it back to pass. We go to point-to-point luminance, which can brighten or darken your signal. Here, for example, we can turn it down and make it look like almost sunset. If you go too low, you'll violate the broadcast standards and it may have a servo error, so you don't want to go real low with both point-to-point and IRE. So let's do the split screen here and bring these point-to-point and IRE up. Then you also have the black restore, which only works if your point-to-point and IRE are at least at 0. And we can show you that if there's any black in the picture, it darkens that up. Here are the tuxedos. You can see how they get a little crisper. It's better for inside shots, the black restore. And of course, well, here's a good example. You can see his tuxedo gets better, but it doesn't affect other parts, or his suit. And this can be adjusted by the knob, and you can turn it off totally too. So depending on the shot, if you're making duplications, I set it up like this. Obviously your split screen is going to be over all the way, but we'll keep it half for seeing the difference. The color level, if you're making duplications, goes down a little bit less than 0. I like the flesh tone warmer up, but a little less than 0. This knob on pass, doesn't matter where this is, point-to-point luminance, I would leave it about 0 unless it's a real dark tape. IRE adjustment about 0, resolution contour somewhere in the middle, which gives you that just a little edge around the hairlines and everything. And I'd leave the black restore about somewhere in the middle. So those are the settings for duplication, which can allow you to make better dupes. And the things you have to remember again is the black restore doesn't work if you turn the point-to-point luminance up or IRE adjust up. The tint adjustments have to be individually controlled by bringing the first switch to adjust here, and the opposite, the knob that you're not using, if the top knob's the left, bottom is the right knob. So the opposite one stays to 0. And you just don't want to overdo it. When in doubt, bring everything back to around normal and you should be okay. The secret to this machine is definitely experimentation. Some of my favorite things, though, to work with in dark shots like this are making sure your black restore is up a little bit so you can get those jet black shots. It's not going to work much. You notice in the background here, you have a sky that's not quite black, so it's not going to do anything. But the gentleman's pants, which are black, it will correct. This is the smartest machine when it comes to black restore because there is a little tiny analog computer doing an equation trying to figure out what is black and what is dark blue and affecting only that which is black. And this is a matter of preference. So the key is definitely experimentation. I've only been working with this about a week, and already I'm finding more and more things I can do with it, but really strictly through experimentation. Don't go overboard with the resolution contour, and spend some time playing and getting to know the machine, because the more you know it, the more you can do, and you can even add different kinds of effects. I mean, really, things are endless. And the other thing is, just when processing your tapes, it's good to use the flesh tone warmer and the black restore a little bit, because your copies will come out better. You know, alone having the black restore, resolution contour, and flesh tone warmer in gear a little bit all the time, really, as you can see here, just improve the general quality of the tape, and your client will be happier. It's also nice if you're doing duplication work for people. So have fun experimenting with it and seeing what looks best for you and what looks best for your tape. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call here at Elite Video. And congratulations on your purchase of the BVP-4 broadcast video processor.